We're going to talk about what is the discriminant for a second before we do a problem where we try to find the discriminant. So good news is not a new formula, it's just a piece of our kind of ever useful quadratic formula that even if something factors, but especially if it doesn't, we can always use quadratic formula to solve any quadratic equation. So this part that's under the square root is referred to as the discriminant. So the discriminant is just the b squared minus 4ac part of it. The reason they call this the discriminant is it discriminates. It tells you what type of answer you're going to get. It kind of determines whether you're going to have two solutions, one solution, or maybe no real solutions. And so how that works is if the discriminant ends up being greater than 0, then you have two real solutions. Because picture for the plus minus, right? If I have square root of something, if I do plus something and minus something, that's what gives me the two different answers. But then if the discriminant's equal to 0, notice the square root of 0 is 0. So this plus minus then doesn't really give me two different answers, because if I have some front number, let's say 5. 5 plus 0 is 5, 5 minus 0 is 5. So if your discriminant is equal to 0, you only have one real solution. And then if your discriminant is negative, well, notice not until we have imaginary numbers can we do anything with negative square roots. So if we're talking about real solutions, that means we have 0 or no real solutions. Let me write the word no. No real solutions. All right, so when we have a quadratic equation and they want to know what is the discriminant, we just have to figure out what a, b, and c is and figure out b squared minus 4ac. So you don't have to do the whole thing. They're not asking for the solution. They're just asking what type or how many solutions you have. So if it says find the discriminant of now, first off, just like always, we can only figure out what a, b, and c are once it's all equal to 0. So a is 6, b is negative 8, and c is 5. And so for b squared minus 4ac, we have negative 8 squared minus 4, a is 6, c is 5. And so what is this equal to? So order of operations, this is multiplication, I have to do exponents first, so I get 64. And then if I multiply this all together, I get 120. It's like 4 times 30. And so I can see right now my discriminant is going to be a negative number. So it looks like my discriminant is negative 56. 64 minus 120. All right, so then I can just jot down they ask for the discriminant. But then what does that mean about our solutions? Well, since it was negative or less than 0, then I put down that there's no real solutions. So it's just a piece of the quadratic equation. You don't have to do the whole thing if they only ask for the discriminant.